Welcome back to the Vineyard. I am your co-host, Jonathan Bonjour.
And I am your co-host, Lincoln Brandt.
And today we are discussing the movie that I call, you've timed it 100% wrong, the movie that I call The Bear for Bad People, The Boiler Room.
But first, the wine pairing.
Delicious.
Today's wine pairing, brought to you by Blendings Winery, for the Boiler Room is this bourbon barrel red wine, which was described to us as really rich and full and strong and stiff, just the way that a day trader might like his red wine. Thanks, Blendings Winery. Welcome back from the wine tasting.
We're welcoming again. I guess welcome again. Who among us isn't
What
welcome?
a good wine tasting.
The Boiler Room is a movie that we are going to discuss our thoughts on.
It is someone's favorite movie, as we discussed last time.
Someone's favorite film in the world. A movie that some have described as being more recognizable than The Iron Giant.
Okay, let's, John, without revealing too much about who we conversed with, can you please tell us, just give us a little bit of context?
So here's what happened. We were talking with some people about this show, making the show, putting out the show, creating the show. We were saying that we're doing 2 episodes, we're recording 2 at a time. That's how we roll. We were going to do The Iron Giant, and this person said, Iron Giant.
Refresh me, I think is the word she used.
Refresh me, yeah, it could have been. And we said, oh, just classic animated film. It's about, the Iron Giant. He's an Iron Giant. I'm not sure. I don't know how you couldn't have made that, logical leap. And then we said, well, the other one we're doing is Boiler Room. And she went, oh, love the Boiler Room.
Yeah, first of all, just knowing what it was.
Knowing the Boiler
wild.
Room is honestly hog wild. I consider myself a knower of film, a knower of kind of weird B cinema, I would say. And I had never once heard of this. I saw this on the list of Vin Diesel movies on Letterboxd, and I said, certainly that didn't come out. Of course not, because I would have heard of it. There's another reason
Turns out it did.
that I didn't hear about it. It did come out. It does exist.
John, what emotions flooded through your head when you heard this woman say she loved Boiler Room?
Oh, a couple of things. One that hit me really strong, really strong, was sort of a sense of general regret. Not for me, but just for the world. The state that we've put ourselves in, that The Boiler Room is a film known by, I don't want to get too far into my feelings about this, because I think it would be really easy to just lambast the film. And that's not what I feel about it. I just have a lot of feelings.
A lot of feelings about it.
I got a lot. I'm a chock-a-block full of feelings.
Yeah, it's a movie that it is surprising that someone would have heard about it in the first place.
Right.
Surprising that someone would love it.
To the point that they would mention that they love it. In fact, the strongest emotion, now that I'm thinking about it, is that crossed my mind is certainly you are doing the thing that I do whenever anybody asks me if I've heard of literally anything at all, which is to say, oh, yes, of course I have. And then they go, there's always a brief pause of like, have you? And then they go, oh, this thing? And then I go, yeah, for sure. And then I pretend like I've heard about it. And that was what I assumed was happening here, except she gave further details, which means that it is a beloved picture by at least one.
Yeah.
And I think we should keep that in mind
we really
as we make this episode.
So Boiler Room tells the story of this guy. I don't remember his name.
That's a guy, Seth. Seth?
Sure.
I'm so confident.
It tells the story of Seth, who starts out running an illegal casino in his apartment, and he moves from that to the world of day trading.
Yes, he does, as guided by one Ben Affleck, one Vin Diesel, and another guy that I don't know who it was.
First of all, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Affleck is in this movie.
He's in the movie. Okay, here's what I think happened. This is a movie that I think every once in a while we get one of these stock kind of movies. And most of the time they're pretty good, moderately to pretty good. And I would put this probably in that category loosely. But this is one that I think postured itself as a movie that was a lot better than it was. And my guess is that it did that from the beginning, because it really has the air of confidence that you expect from really only an M. Night Shyamalan picture.
Yes, it does bear that. Maybe that's why I expected a twist at the end.
Sure, certainly,
Yeah, because it has the same reckless, unwarranted confidence that M. Night Shyamalan injects into his films.
It's a movie that believes in itself so hard that it almost makes me wonder if I'm wrong for liking it or not liking it. But I'm not wrong. What did you think of Boiler Room?
I thought I felt the many ways that it postured itself to be a better movie than it was, and in many ways just directly ripping off other plot lines.
Sure. Wall
In many
Street,
ways,
most importantly, I
Wall
would say.
Street. In other ways, The Firm, the story of an outsider coming into this kind of established world of, in The Firm it's law, but in here it's business, and discovering that something nefarious is going on. But whereas a movie like The Firm, which again is not the most amazing movie ever, but much more solid, I think, solidly constructed than this film. The turnaround of realizing that illegal things are happening and starting work, and the work of the movie becoming solving this mystery and getting justice brought, became the whole movie. Whereas that plot point almost felt like an afterthought.
There's an interesting kind of air to this film as we go through it, where Seth starts to see these things that are happening, and he just sort of blinds himself to it, which as a character motivation is very interesting. As a protagonist motivation is extremely boring, because it's just a guy pretending like he doesn't see what he's seeing and not doing anything about it.
And it's not like you're watching him, begging him to make the right choice. You're not on the edge of your seat saying, make the right choice, please, please.
No.
You're just watching him thinking, this is dumb, why doesn't he make the right choice?
Could make the right choice, but he just never does. I feel very similarly to you. I don't think this is a particularly great film. I think it's interesting. I think it is
interesting.
Very discussable, and it does this very strange thing where every once in a while it would just sort of fade to black and then sort of pop back in a way that made me think, like, did I get some sort of television cut of this movie? Because there's a couple of things that kind of made me feel that way. One, other than the language, there is no real strong R-rated material in the film.
No, there's plenty of language, but
There's
really
more than enough language.
nothing else even kind of objectionable.
But there's nothing objectionable. In fact, we watched the theatrical trailer last night, my wife and I, and I was very intrigued to see a little shot of a gun being cocked, which is fully not in the movie.
Not in the film at all.
Which makes me wonder, A, was there a more interesting moment in this movie that they decided to cut out? Or B, did they realize as they were cutting the trailer, it kind of looks like nothing really happens in this movie, and kind of nothing happens in this movie.
Yeah, it was a correct statistical sample of this movie if the trailer felt like nothing happened in it.
Sort of what, and yet, to its credit, the things that I did like about this, I was fully engaged the entire time, and I was never bored. It was pretty stressful. Like, all things considered, it was a movie that I was pretty locked in, and I was genuinely stressed for a lot of it. Now, thinking back on the movie as a whole, I don't know why, because there were almost no stakes and pretty much nothing happened. But it always felt like something was going to happen. And
Yeah, we felt like we were on the edge of a breakthrough almost the entire movie.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Yes, and I would agree with you. It feels like not a lot happens, but the moment to moment is surprisingly solid.
Yeah, it really is.
What did you feel about the big emotional breakdown moments?
It's a big question for a lot of reasons. One, by the time we get to them, I don't really care about the guy. I have no opinion on Seth. I don't want him to be better. I don't want him to be a person he's done too much kind of horrific stuff. In fact, the moment that is supposed to feel like a gut punch, where his father is like, I never want to see you again. You're the worst person I've ever met. I'm a little bit like, can we just watch the dad for the rest of this movie? Because that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So by the time we get to these emotional moments, they're well acted. They're moderately well shot. They're decent. I just don't care. How did you feel?
I felt like it's probably similar, but more that it was unearned. It felt like this actor is going to be asked to act in this scene, and hasn't been asked to act in the rest of the movie.
Right.
And if I can draw a contrast between that and a movie like Strays, it feels like throughout Strays, it is the most obvious, perfunctory signposting of when emotional moments are going to happen.
True.
But even that gives you this way to access the kind of melodramatic, over-the-top acting in a way that this movie does not.
No, it really doesn't. Speaking of Strays, this movie has one thing in common with Strays.
Yeah, it also has Vin Diesel in it.
Has two things in common with Strays.
Oh, yes.
Majority white cast is the other thing.
3 things?
3 to 5 things in common. This movie has a lot in common with Strays.
Yeah.
What mostly Vin Diesel, I think, is the reason we're here, the reason, the soup du jour, if you will.
The pomme de can.
Pomme de beans, the can of beans, if you will. Vin Diesel, Vincent Diesel.
So watching this movie, and especially given the marketing of this movie, I was very convinced that Vin Diesel had a much more pivotal role and impactful presence in this movie.
Right.
But the movie is, in fact, not about him really in the slightest.
In fact, it's almost it's almost intentionally, it's almost aggressively not about Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
because he has two scenes that I think are worth noting. One where he's selling somebody over the phone,
Yeah.
and the other where he is told later by Seth that he has ratted them out and that the police are going to come get him.
Yeah. But other than that, he is more of a side character, sometimes not even an extra in the
Very
movie.
rarely in the film. Every once in a while he's in a bar. Anytime he does show up, it's a little breath of fresh air for me because it's like, oh, that's why I'm here. That's right.
Yeah.
What did you think of Vin? What did you get out of this?
I wanted to talk about this a little bit because you have these two back-to-back scenes of extremely famous actors who weren't famous at the time of this movie. You have Ben Affleck.
Daredevil.
And you have Vin Diesel.
Also Daredevil, in my mind.
Great.
Mental Daredevil.
Yes, the Punisher. What a Punisher he would make. Okay, anyways.
Wait.
I didn't say good or bad. I just said what a.
Wait. All right, I'm there.
So you have Ben Affleck and you have Vin Diesel. Two people who I think went on to become very different kinds of actors.
Absolutely.
Ben Affleck seems like he went straight for the more serious, more quote-unquote highbrow kinds of movies.
Straight for the more Martha-related pictures.
Whereas Vin Diesel kind of has never stopped being a populist moviegoer, a popcorn kind of actor.
He only makes the movies he'd want to go see, and his taste is very generic.
Yes, which is why it is so fun to make this podcast.
Part of what I love about him, genuinely.
So anyways, you see Ben Affleck give this long 4 or 5 minute monologue with ups and downs, and it's filled with anger, and it's about selling stock. It's about that you need to go out and take what's yours. It's filled with greed. It's filled with kind of this disgust towards people who have less than you. It's filled with this disdain for the rest of the world, basically.
Absolutely.
And it's a quite good monologue.
It's an exceptional monologue.
But then the very next scene, we're in the trading room. People are yelling back and forth, and Vin Diesel stands up, silences the room, and with just 1 or 2 sentences, delivers just as much punch, just as much energy, and I dare say more charisma than Ben Affleck. And it was a little bit like you're watching some high school baseball team beat the Mets when you're like rooting for this smaller, what seems like a less qualified person, just kind of mop the floor with a much more established actor.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. What Vin is bringing to the table here is really exceptional. And there was a moment as we got further on into the movie that I was like, I don't know if we should do this because it's like, where's Vin? It's the same problem I had with the Iron Giant. And then Vin shows up, and his really 2 scenes that he has are so rock solidly important, I think, to his career and to where he's at. And this is him solidifying. This is Vin Diesel crystallizing into the man that we will know and love in the douchiest way imaginable. He is a full-blown monster nightmare man here. But he's super engaging. He's controlling a room. He is beloved, a thing that's important to him. And he is, more than anything, I think just very interesting to watch.
Yeah. It's also fun watching him. This movie is not an action movie by any stretch of the imagination. No. It's not even really a thriller. It's almost completely a drama. Yeah. And watching Vin take it 100% seriously the whole time, and this is not the stage of his career where he was getting hired for his name or for his brand. He's getting hired for his skills, and so it's fun to watch. Oh yeah, he is getting roles because he does have those skills.
And this is a movie that feels like the world of Hollywood kind of testing Vin, giving him a shot to do something else. They've seen him in Strays. They've seen him in Saving Private Ryan. He's done some voiceover work. Now we got to see, if we give him something small, just give him a little bit of rope, what does he do with it? And what does he do? He steals the dang show.
He really does. And so I was, by the end of the movie, completely at peace with having Boiler Room be included in our discussion.
It's integral. I also think it's very interesting because it's another thing that he's going to touch on for the rest of his career, because we've seen him be pure golden-hearted boy, even if he's coming out of being a pretty terrible person in Strays. We've never seen him be just a bad person, just a not good human being. It's him gaining a little bit of range. And I also think, just from his acting perspective, I think this is him at his most solid so far.
I would say so.
He's learned a lot.
He's not he's not performing his own script.
No, he feels confident. He feels comfortable in doing what he's doing, even if it isn't his own script. I really am, I agree with you, completely confident in our decision to keep this in.
So I think, to wrap up my own thoughts, and maybe to see if you agree with my thoughts, I think that Vin's presence in the movie brings just so much to the movie that it almost makes it worth watching. I'm not sure if it is quite worth a recommend, I don't know if I would say tell other people to sit through this full length of this movie. But I think Vin does so much for this movie that it really makes me grateful that he was in it.
Yeah, it's an interesting question whether or not I'd recommend it. I don't throw my recommendations around too lightly, maybe a little looser than I should. I don't think I would recommend Boiler Room. I think if you're on the journey with us, it's worth watching. It's a worthwhile addition to the canon of the Vineyard. I just don't think it's like a movie that I would say, oh, you have to go see it. I also don't dislike it. We make fun. We lightly jest at the idea of someone enjoying this more than the Iron Giant. But honestly, if you really love this movie, I can't totally fault you for that. I think there's a lot to love here. It's just not necessarily for me. I think I found it to be too gross, not in content, but just in feel, in the way that the characters are created. I don't enjoy spending time with any of them. So as engaged as I am, I just don't really care.
And it's not a movie that can kind of revel in their evil.
No, because it has to have a moral decision right at the end.
Yeah. So you don't get the satisfaction of just watching these terrible people kind of destroy their own lives.
Which those are some of my favorite movies. I love a movie like that.
So which is not to say that like, oh, the narrative should have condemned these characters more. But more of that, it wasn't far enough in either direction. It didn't feel like the characters were being judged by the narrative, but then it also didn't feel like there was any sort of gleeful, hedonistic joy in the movie.
No. Yeah, it really didn't feel that way. In a way that I think things like The Firm leans more on the moral side, and things like Wolf of Wall Street would lean more in the hedonism. Overall, decent movie. I can't say that I recommend it. Vin Diesel is phenomenal. If you have to watch anything from this movie, just watch his scenes. If you can, there's probably a YouTube compilation out there, I would assume. At least his selling scene, which is the more important of the two.
Yeah, what was your favorite vignette?
This is such a shoo-in for me.
Yeah.
There's a bit right at the beginning, which I really thought was going to be more important, because they open the film with this scene of like the head cult leader guy, like the leader of these stockbrokers, standing up there at this like retreat for the whole company. He stands up on a table and he says, "Hey, we are officially allowed to trade finally." Like he says that as if it's a thing that we will later go into why they weren't allowed to. Doesn't happen, doesn't matter. But he says, we've got these 3 people that have given us the most money. We've got Seth, I think might be one of them. Maybe not, I don't even remember. Ben Affleck and Vin Diesel. And he says, for you guys, I've got you a special treat. And it's gross, so don't worry about that part. But there is a beautiful moment where Vin Diesel, Mr. Vincent Diesel, learns about this hedonistic pleasure, and he goes, ah. And that's the vignette for me, no question.
Which, to be clear, the movie then cuts away from.
Yeah,
we go straight back to the office after that.
There's no comment on it. There's no follow-up to that. We see nothing from that. That scene doesn't matter
in the slightest.
It would be as if you started, say, Deadpool, and the movie opens on the highway scene and everything's crashing around, and he goes, "I bet you're wondering how I got here." It goes all the way back, and then we get to that point, and they just go, "Anyway,
we went to the highway.
Mattered," and then they just skip it and move on.
Yeah, it really was.
What's your vignette?
I think my vignette has to be that moment that I talked about earlier, where Vin Diesel stands up and tells everyone to be quiet and really commands the room. And it was just so much fun to see him. And I think it was him kind of flexing his muscles, metaphorically and literally, in a way that he really doesn't get to for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he's got those huge lats and traps and whatnot, and he doesn't use them for nothing.
Yeah, so I'd say that's my favorite vignette. Jon, what did this teach you about movies?
Lincoln, the thing that this taught me about movies is that everybody has different taste, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. What about you?
I think that what this taught me about movies is that they don't really make mid-budget movies for grown-ups anymore. And
maybe they shouldn't.
Maybe it's not as sad as we thought it was.
What did this teach you about Vin Diesel?
I think this movie is in a really interesting place in Vin Diesel's life, because it is, in some ways, the first and last time that he is going to be a side character in a really big movie.
It's true.
There's, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy will be later.
Sure.
And he will have kind of bit roles.
Of course.
But in movies where he is involved in any sort of capacity, from now on, after this point, he is going to be front and center of the marketing, of the amount of screen time, just in the amount of words that he says.
Absolutely.
So this is this kind of weird flashpoint in his career where he has taken off enough to be on the same screen as Ben Affleck, but is still not really headlining in the way that he will later.
We're going to have to see with Knockaround, guys. That's the only one I don't know from here on out. Yeah, I completely agree. The thing that this taught me about Vin Diesel, it is interesting assessing it from this perspective in his career. This isn't a movie he would do again. This isn't a role he would take on again. It's not juicy enough, I don't think. But it is interesting to see him kind of stretch his chops, do something. Who knows why he did it? And it's kind of fun to see a movie that neither propelled him in his career nor brought him back. It's just one of the ones in it.
Yeah, yeah.
What did this teach you about life?
What this taught me about life is that greed is not good, but it's also not that bad. I feel like that's kind of the message of the movie.
Yeah.
As long as your greed is pointed in generally the right direction, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Greed is good to a point. That's what all the great critical thinkers have said.
Yeah, yeah. What did this teach you about life, Jon?
This taught me that cars are everything, and you should do whatever you can to get them. Look at this smile on my face, ear to ear, baby.
Well, I think that was everything.
I think that was just a...
Wait. I hear it. Oh, I heard it.
Oh.
You got it. Okay.
I think I got it.
What's in there? No. I got it.
What is it? What is that? Is that a reading from the Word?
Wow, we almost missed the reading there.
That was a beautiful little moment. We really got to start putting that right in the middle of the episodes.
Yeah, it's okay.
As we planned, as God intended. Thank you for joining us on The Vineyard. The next movie we're going to be talking about, I believe, is Knockaround Guys?
I believe it is Knockaround Guys.
It's either that or Pitch Black, but I'm fairly certain it's Knockaround Guys.
I'll take your word for it. See you next time for Knockaround Guys.
See you next time. And don't forget, everybody at home, # Diesel in Vineyard. Or Vin in Vineyard.
Cheers. We'll do both.
It's the Vin in that I didn't like about it.
Vin in Vineyard.
Vin.